Hi, I'm your host, LaQuinta, and welcome to the Whole Beauty Wellness Podcast. I have a guest today, Wendy. She's my friend. We've been friends if you've been doing this for 16 years, we must have been friends for like 18 years. Let's give it 18. Is that okay?
2010.
2010.
2011.
2011. Yep. So Wendy is my friend. She is a lash artist. She also does permanent cosmetics. She owns her own salon. And welcome to the Whole Beauty Wellness Podcast, Wendy.
Hello.
How are you doing today? Thank you for joining me, guys. We had some technical issues in the beginning, but we're figuring it all out. Wendy is very patient with me. That's why I'm so glad that I have a friend who understands.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Wendy. So I have a lot of questions for you. The goal is just to help other up and coming beauticians or people who wants to be in the beauty industry. Our goal is to just help them, to educate them, to give them some tips and tricks on how to become successful and grow their business as a beauty professional. Wendy, how did we meet?
We met at Aveda in Columbus at school.
Okay.
I think I was back there for my advanced part of my program, and you were starting your cos program.
Yeah. So where are you currently located?
I'm not entirely sure where the interaction happened, but yeah.
I don't know. So you moved. Where are you currently located?
Cleveland, Ohio.
You're in Cleveland, Ohio. And what are you now doing in Cleveland, Ohio?
Still lashes and permanent cosmetics. Going to school for aesthetics was always the goal, was to eventually do lashes, which I ended up doing, and then ventured into permanent cosmetics.
So you never intended like a full cosmetology, doing hair and all that. You always wanted to do like you're like, no. You don't know how to do hair?
No. Not at all.
So the goal was always esthetician, beauty services, like with your skin.
The goal was always lashes. I went to school for lashes first. I took a class on lash extensions first. That was in 2010.
Okay.
And then I went to school for aesthetics because I just wanted a license to go with doing lashes, even though back then you didn't need a license to do lashes. Yeah. But yeah, that goal was always. So you need a
license now?
You do, yeah. You need to have a license now. It passed like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think, that they added it in with the aesthetics license or cosmetology license.
Okay. So. And how long does that take? Is that like a course or how do you go about that to do
learning lashes?
Yeah.
So most lash courses are only a few days, but it is for the education part of it, right? But you have to do a lot of practicing before you take paying clients. I would recommend, because there's people that don't, right? But I would recommend take your course, take a good course, and then you just practice. Keep going forward and keep learning techniques, keep doing continuing education. But to learn the actual skill of lash extensions, it doesn't take a long time. Most of it is just practicing, learning everybody's eye shapes, face shapes, what's going to go best with their lashes, what's going to hold best on their lashes. So, yeah. So
you will have to go to school to be an esthetician first, and then you have to take an extra class outside of the esthetician program, at like a certified esthetician program.
Supposedly, I mean, yes. That's kind of the route that you should go, ideally, legally, yes.
Legally.
So I always tell people, though, you can do what you want to do. Meaning, not that I'm promoting doing lashes without a license. What I'm saying is I would take a lash class first because it's going to be obviously cheaper and shorter than going to school for aesthetics or cosmetology. Aesthetics.
So you really don't have to go to school to be an esthetician. You can just do the course and do it.
You do. So lash extensions do fall under aesthetic license. Why I say do one first? Because what if you go to school for aesthetics? Because you're like, I think I want to do lashes. Then you go through 6 months of schooling or a year. And then you come out, you take a lash class, and you be like, I don't like this. And the lash classes are typically like 2 to 3 days. Okay. So I say take the lash class first, because you can learn the lashes and see if it's something you even want to deal with. Because you might take the lash class and be like, this is not for me. So if it's not for you, why would you even, if you're going to school for aesthetics specifically for lashes, Now, if you're going
Okay.
to school for aesthetics because you're like, hey, I might want to do facials, I might want to do waxing, that's totally different. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
like, lashes are your focus, then I would take the lash class first, personally.
Okay.
And see if you even like doing lashes. First, before you go and drop a bunch of money on aesthetic school, because you might not like it.
Right.
Lashes are hard. People think that lashes are not hard,
It looks hard.
but they're hard. You got to see, you have to have decent vision, and it's a very tedious thing. And it takes time, especially if you want to be good at it and you want to charge more money. You want to get into all the different lash styles and the texture looks and get into really detailed looks that would bring you the better money of lashes. It's not easy. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy. So,
Mm-hmm. So, what inspired you to start your own salon?
I never was inspired. I wasn't ever really inspired to start my own.
Okay.
What happened was I was working for someone.
Okay.
I'm trying to make this a long story short. I felt it in my spirit. I went to see a salon loft kind of by accident. I was visiting a friend at a salon loft and I was shown the suite, and in my spirit it just felt like that's where I was supposed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so I made the choice to go into business by myself. I was there for about a year and a half, and I ended up getting pregnant with my son. And so it was either send my clients somewhere else or train somebody that could work on my clients for me.
Okay.
Going into it, the intention was to hire one person. I ended up with two people, and that was also by accident. It was just supposed to be, they were initially, the plan was for them to get trained, and then when they were ready to go, they could leave. They didn't have to stay after I got back from maternity leave, but then they stayed. And
Mm-hmm.
so the business just kept growing and it kind of just turned into a thing. So the plan was never to really have a salon with stylists in it. But it's something I think now that I'm actually good at doing. I enjoy bringing girls into the business, giving them a start, because a lot of people go through school, they come right out of school, they want to go jump in and get a salon suite, and they don't know anything about the beauty industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it leaves them in this weird space of like not knowing good customer service, not knowing salon etiquette, not knowing how to run a business. I think the benefit to working in a commission based salon or just a salon in general with other people is just having the opportunity to work with other artists, other stylists that you can learn from and also learn the business before you step out on your own. And
Yes.
so that's kind of like what my business has become. Every time I hire a girl, I always say, hey, this is like a crossing point for you, right? Like it's a help me help you. I have built up my business. Clients trust my name, my business, and me. I'm giving them to you because I have client overload, right? So it's a help me help you. And then when you are ready to go and you are ready to transition into your own, if that should be your choice, then you are more than welcome to do that. And we have both benefited in that situation, right? So I do have people who they stay with me for 2 to 4 years typically, and they move on. And then I have people that stay. My favorite girls stay with me. So
Uh, Segue to the name of the salon. Wendy and I were we had a conversation about the
Mhm.
name of the salon before she even named the salon. And
Yes.
I was against the name of the salon, but it's catchy now. Now I'm kind of glad you named the salon
Hmm.
what you named it. But when you told me the name, I was like, nah. So what is the name of your salon?
So the business name is Faux Real Beauty. And for anybody, it's spelled Faux, Faux Real Beauty, not Fox. It's pronounced Faux.
Oh,
Faux in French means made in imitation of.
okay.
So initially, when I called you, I was like, I'm gonna name my business Faux Real because my whole business, what I wanted for my clients was the idea that I wanted to represent natural beauty
Hmm.
enhancements without it looking fake. And
Hmm.
so I
And
came up
it
with Faux
does.
Real. But when but when I had called you and I was like, oh, call my business For Real, you were like, for real? No.
For real, for real. That sounds like for real, but I didn't think of faux real, like fake,
Right.
for real. Yeah, so when you was like for real, I'm like, no, Andy. But like I said, it's
Right.
catchy. I'm so glad you named it that.
And that's why business names are important, because it's also a good name that I could take into a bunch of different places, right? Like if I ever wanted to get into, I don't wigs or hair extensions, brow extensions or makeup, it still encompasses
Same branding.
my whole branding of what I want to
Yeah.
represent and go
Yeah,
into.
yeah,
If I
yeah.
want to get into floral arrangements, I could go into faux flowers, faux real
That's right.
flowers, or whatever.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
can
so
keep
it
the branding
encompasses,
going.
yeah, everything you want to do, which is why it's important to pick a good business name.
So you talked about hiring a team. How did you approach hiring your team, building a team, and how would you like to grow outside, like outside of your current salon moving forward? So that's kind of two questions.
Okay, so how do I typically grow my team?
How do you approach hiring for your salon? And we'll go to the
So
next section.
it's a little different every time every time I do it. When I first was getting my salon, my first stylist was actually one of my very, very first student. And she took a class with me and she was a hell of a negotiator. And she
She
was
knew her
like, she
worth.
kept telling me, like, listen, if you want me, like, let me know. Like, I'll come work with you. Like, let's do this. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. So I already had it in my mind. Actually, one of my cousins commended that I reached out to another cousin. And I reached out to that cousin and she was planning on coming in to work with me. And I remember even not to tell her business, but I remember at one point I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. But her parents had called me. It was like, oh my God, we're so glad she's gonna be working with you. So I was like, oh my
You're like,
God, all
oh, I
right.
gotta keep her.
I was like, I was going to do this. I was a little afraid about working with family. So my cousin was starting, but in the midst of all of that happening, because I was scared about hiring my cousin, I decided to offer the opportunity to my student. So when my uncle had reached out to me about my cousin, I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna have both of them start, like, because I'm like, I don't want to tell nobody no. That's how I ended up with two of them. It actually worked out. My cousin was with me for like 4 years. My first stylist, she was with me for like 2 to 2.5. Both of them have their own businesses now
Oh, good.
successfully. They
Yeah.
left my shop. They were able to take their shop. Sorry, they were able to take their clientele with them, and they still maintain their lash businesses to this day very successfully. And like two of the best lash artists in Cleveland, in my opinion.
Good.
Trying to think, like after that, it seems like I always get in a space of like either people referring me or like some way interconnected with me. I've had employees that were students, like Shayla, who's been with me the longest and is still with me. She's been with me for 6 years. Shayla was my mom's best friend's hairstylist daughter.
Okay.
And she had referred me, and I literally hired Shayla at like 17. And she doesn't want her own business, which is why she's still here, which is, I love her for that. But she's like my little mini me, and I appreciate her so much. But everybody's like an extension somewhere. One of my other stylists, who's been with me for 4 years, she was my grandmother's nail tech's granddaughter or niece.
Okay.
So somehow it's always interconnected. I'm okay with that. I've also had other cousins who have worked under me. My mother's my receptionist. So I don't know. I'm a people person. And I think on one hand, that could be a little bit stressful having people so close in relationship to you. But
Mhm.
also at the same time, what clients always love about our shop is they always say it has a very family feel to it.
Mhm.
So not that we be in there bickering. You can catch me and
Because
my
y'all
mother
genuinely
bickering.
care about each other too.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
nothing. You can catch me and my mother bickering every day, but I think in general, like there's just this homey feel
Mhm.
about anybody in the salon. So when we bring somebody in that's like kind of outside of that, it feels a little, like
Yeah.
we gotta learn this person.
Yeah.
Or I guess in a sense we'd be like, at least if there's one person that vouch for the person we're bringing in, then we good. But if nobody know anything about her, we like, I
You
don't
know
know.
what I love about the way you're talking about, like the ones who are now successful. I have talked to people who are business owners, and they take the owner's idea and create their own, and they feel like the person used them. But I personally feel like that's why we're here on earth, is to experience something, teach the next person, and let them go create whatever they want to create. It's like we can't be gatekeepers and keep people stuck with us when they're ready to expand and grow outside of us. So I
Yeah.
love how like you don't take it personally when people are ready to go. However, you're like, I need you to stay with me. I like that you've been with me for 6 years. However, when you're ready to go, I support that, and it's time for you to like, spread your wings, because they definitely gonna take your expertise or whatever you taught them, and they're gonna apply it to whatever business they want to establish.
Do what you're supposed to do, which is stay, grow your clientele, and go. My thing is, I don't want their clients. That's what I always tell them. Like, I have my own clients. I have my own price set points and things like that. So it's not where I'm at. I think what I've just learned to adapt, that this is the position that I'm in. I've seen people in similar positions before me that gatekeeping didn't really do them any good, right? Not helping people build their business, it didn't do them any good. And I remember when I first got my salon and I was like nervous about hiring people, our friend Isaac, he used to always say the best way to make money is by showing other people how to make money. And that really is the truth. Like, all I do is show people how to make money and have their own business. And so, again, it's a help me help you situation. I have a problem, you could be part of the solution. And I do expect people to grow. Like, I think it's just a naive feeling or a naive thought to just think you're going to have somebody forever. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? That's like getting a job at a grocery store and being like, yeah, I plan on being here in 20 years. It's not realistic. It's just like,
Yeah.
and not that there's anything wrong with that, but you can't expect people to just never have goals and never
That's
want
right.
more out of life. I try to do my best and keep an open line of communication with all my stylists that there's always going to be, I can only take you so far also.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't want the burden of you ever feeling like you have a ceiling with me, but technically there is, because it's other than making you a owner, there's not much I could do.
Right.
Like,
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? I would love to. I think what the other part of your question is, what I would love to do, should somebody choose to stay a part of my business, I think I would love to like excel them more. If like I could expand and open more locations. That's been a
Okay.
thought in my head in the past, but it would have to be with somebody that I really trust with the brand and the vision.
So basically, you're saying like let them get their own store and they run their own store with the branding, for Real Beauty, but
I
let
think
them
more realistically, like the location that I have, leave them that, because it's already self-sustaining.
establish.
And
Okay.
it's been self-sustaining for, I've had that salon for 10 years now. So it's already like, it doesn't require a lot. And
Yeah.
it already gets the traffic, it already gets the clientele. So, other than dealing with the stylist, it's not like a lot, it's not a ton to do. You know what I mean?
So financially, if someone was looking to start their own lash bar or their own practice doing lashes, is it a big investment? How much do you think you would need, even if you want to do like a studio, not so much a big salon like you have, but how much would it be for like supplies and stuff like that to kind of get started? We know booth rent is like 250 to 300 a week. Maybe
Depending
that's
on where you go. And it's funny because I just saw this woman's podcast about that. So I think that a lot of people go into trying to open or start a business thinking that they need the most, and they really don't. I think that even if you don't go in a salon suite, people forget you can just go booth rent from a salon that has a room in the back for an esthetician or a lash artist. You don't have to particularly go for a salon loft. There are people who will make space for you, move a hair chair aside, and let you set up a bed in the middle of a hair salon. As long as it
yeah.
feels comfortable to you, that's all that matters. But to
Yeah.
start up, when I first went into salon lofts, that's where I was first after I left the job that I had as a lash artist in the salon that I was at. I just happened to catch salon loft. They was offering like 3 months of free rent.
Oh, that's what's up.
So, I
That's
say
when
shop
you.
around. I say shop around, especially in this economy, because there's always people that offer stuff like that. So that was a win for me. My bed, I bought a basic, terribly thin massage table that I probably paid $89 for. I took my mama's lamp from her house. She had a tall, like one of them skinny lamps with
IKEA
a
lamp,
little.
like an IKEA lamp. That's the
No, girl,
IKEA.
wasn't no
Oh,
IKEA. It was from Walmart. It
oh,
was
okay.
it was like one of them tall lamps that had like the cone at the top, and it
Yeah.
just happened to have a little arm
Yeah, I
coming
got
off
one
the
of
side. I
those.
took it from her house, and that's what I used as my lighting. And I had a TV tray, is what I kept all my lash stuff on. And
See,
that's how I started my
you
business.
can
And
make
that
your
was it.
money.
And everything else I started with like very simple. I knew I wanted to have quality products. So I did spend a little bit more money on my adhesive. Nowadays we have Amazon and stuff, which I wouldn't recommend. Whole another story getting that products from Amazon. I do believe in buying quality. So I spent money on like good adhesive and good lashes. But even that, you could probably spend maybe $100 to $150 on getting your products to get started, and
Mhm.
that'll get you going until you start generating some income.
Mhm. 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 All right. So let's go to marketing. So what marketing strategies have been most effective for you in your salon? And can you share some marketing strategies for people who maybe in a salon but need to get more clients to be booked and busy like you?
So pre social media days, I mean, I guess social media has helped a lot, but to be honest, I've never got like a ton of lash business off of social media. And even today, I don't get a ton of lash business off of social media because I just think that nowadays, social media, like the videos that get the most views and things like that, there's like some type of negativity surrounded by it, right? Like where the lash artists know it look crazy, but that's where the attraction comes in at. Like if you're a good lash artist and you post good work, sometimes it just don't get the views and the interactions or the bookings that you wanted to have. Also, everybody's mama, auntie, sister, cousin know somebody to do lashes. I just think it's harder to get business for lashes off of social media. To
So
each his
what would
own.
you
It's not
recommend?
been a big platform for me. What has always worked best for me is just having good customer service. And I say
Yes.
that because
Yes.
word of mouth is always going to be your biggest selling point. You put the time and effort into perfecting your craft.
Mm-hmm.
You know you do a good job. Is going to show. Your clients are going to be happy with you. Have customer service and a good environment wrapped up in that as well. Is like a slam dunk on marketing, right?
Yeah.
So you're giving people this experience that they can't mimic in other places most of the time, right? So you go out, somebody compliments their lashes or they compliment your brows. That is your walking advertisement.
That's right.
And it's going to bring people to you.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, you can post your clients and stuff and they might spread it around, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still all word of mouth. Most
So,
people want to know that where they're going to, that they're just going to be treated right.
mm-hmm.
I kind of realized that I had a client before I got my salon loft, the place I was working at. I had a client who she's a Cavalier girl at the time. And I could not get her lashes to stay worth nothing. And I kept begging her to go to the owner. I'm like, you don't want to go? Like, I feel so bad. You keep coming in here with no lashes on. I could not get her lashes to stay to save my life. And
Mm-hmm.
she did not want to go to the owner because she's like, no, I love you. I love your vibe. And I just felt so bad because she was paying me, technically paying the owner or whatever, for me to do her lashes. And they wasn't staying. And I just felt so bad. So when I went off on my own, she was one of the people that came with me. I ended up trying out some stuff on her once I was on my own, like different products, and we found something that worked for her. But she actually ended up getting me a contract with the Cavaliers to do the Cavalier girls. And I was just like, but I say all that to say it didn't matter about the work I was doing.
You
It
like you.
mattered
Yeah.
about me and my personality and me trying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people love to give stylists chances and they
Mm-hmm.
love to see you working on yourself. It makes them feel a part of your story and your
Yeah.
journey. And they love to be a part of people's journey. They love to be like, oh my God, look what my girl did. She was doing this. Now she's doing that. Look at, oh my God. They love to be a part of that journey. Everybody loves a come up story and they love being a part of that. So I just think customer service is the best marketing tool that you can have. And I
Mm-hmm.
stand beside that.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
That and word of mouth.
I always said that I don't believe that like I was a good hairstylist. I don't feel like because I mean you can go to any hairstylist, but the atmosphere that I created, I was clean, I was very personal, I was not late, I was always on
Mm-hmm.
time, and I felt that like people was loyal to me, not the salon. They were all like me because like I said, I do it at home now, and I got people that I literally can't get rid of. They're like, no, I'm coming home with you. So you're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. It's you, your personality, and of course good work. But as long as they like you and you treat them good, they will be loyal even when you don't do such a good job. Because I don't
Yeah.
feel like I was like the best hairstylist, but I had some people that were very loyal to me and they're like, no, I'm not going anywhere else. So
Yeah.
I
And even
agree.
if you're like, so even if you're not at the point where you can get word of mouth yet, I think like if you are, let's say, booth running in a hair salon and you're trying to build a lash business or a permanent cosmetic business, the mistake that people make, which also falls in the category of like referral word of mouth, right? The mistake that most people make is they come out, they learn the skill, and then they immediately want to start charging for it, and they're not good at it. And
Yeah.
so they won't take models. And they'll be like, I just learned lashes, so let me charge you $25. I just learned
Hmm.
lashes, let me charge you $40. And it
Hmm.
is all about the verbiage. So you could say, hey, somebody's a model and it's $25 to be a model. But you could tell somebody, hey, I'm doing full sets and it's $25. The second you make it a service,
Hmm.
right? And it's the same thing, but the second you make it a service and not about being a model, you're putting a guarantee on your work, right? So
Yeah.
they're expecting
That's
certain things from that. Also, you are now building your pricing around these prices that you're offering people, and it's really hard to come up from them prices. So I just think that where people make the mistake of coming into this industry is they immediately try to come out and they start trying to make money while they're trying to grow themselves, and that's a mistake. They need to
hmm
come out and take models until they feel comfortable enough. And then when they're ready, they can use all of that model work that they just did for content, use it as referrals. Again, now you have all these people walking around here with your work on.
Mm-hmm.
People will compliment it, they'll refer them to you, and then
Yeah.
bing, bam, boom, you start building the clientele. And it's
Yeah.
just as simple as that. But you have to kind of have that integrity to be like, okay, I'm going to take the L on the money right now because I'm working on the skill.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get the skill, you don't have to come out being like, oh, I'm doing $25 lashes. You can come out and be like, okay, I'm doing $125 lashes.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be your, or more, whatever, however you're
Yeah.
feeling. But that'll be your base, right? You don't have to try to be coming up from like the cheaper prices.
Yes. Yes. Because that's an expensive service.
Hmm.
Which is why I don't get mad then.
Yeah.
We're going to segue over to motherhood.
Okay.
Being a mom. Let's get out of, we still talk about business, but motherhood. What system have you put in place to balance the salon responsibility and family time? How do you balance it all?
I feel like I just started learning how to balance that because I didn't have that balance for like a long time.
So it's
And I
never
was
too
just like,
late.
right. It's never too late though. But I feel like for a long time I was like straight work mode, home life. And sometimes time with my son like always came at the cost of that. And what I mean by that is like was leaning on my mom a lot for help with my son. At some point I just didn't want to do that. But the more older he got and the more vocal he got, it's easier when they're babies. They don't talk about that. When they get older and they really
They
want
like,
that
Mom,
time
I
with
want
you,
your
it's
time.
hit a little different. So I had to start prioritizing. I think when you get to that point, that is when it is time to go up on your prices and then change your schedule. One of
That's
my
right.
lash mentors, she was Russian. She used to always say she didn't know why Black people charged what they charged and took as many clients as they did. She said, y'all need to get away from the thought process that you need every single client, which is the truth. You don't need every single client.
Mm-hmm.
You need a few people who think you are worth the price that you're charging. And that's it.
Yes. Yes.
So when you get to that point of being like, okay, I'm ready to slow down my hustle a little bit because I need more time to do X, Y, and Z. That's when you change your schedule, you cut back your hours, you shorten your availability, and you raise your prices. Now
Mm-hmm.
you should still be in demand at this point.
Yes. Yes.
But that is the best time to do that. And that is the best way to do that. And do it without, without overthinking it. You just got to do it. I remember the day I went up on my brow prices and it was like, I'm trying to think what I went. I took a big jump, like almost like $150 jump up. But I remember like with the day I upped my prices on my brows to like $600, I was sitting back like, oh, I remember I had called my cousin. I was like, you think that's too much? It might be too much for some brows. Because that was like the highest ticket service I had ever offered in my whole career. And I just remember being like, oh my God, that same day I changed my prices. And I had only been doing nano at that point for like 3 or 4 months. Somebody booked online at the full price. And then from there, I was like, oh,
We're good.
what you tripping for? You're good. Somebody thinks you're great. And that's all that matters.
So speaking of
So,
prices, it's okay to raise your prices so that you raise
mhm.
your price and you take less client. Now you have more time for your family.
Yes, because technically and you're gonna lose people. You will always lose
Definitely.
people. Unfortunately, that comes with it. But even when I raised my lash prices, obviously the two industries are very different when it comes to pricing. But lashes are different than permanent cosmetics in the pricing category because over the years, lashes started off high and everybody knew that was an expensive luxury service. And over the years, the price has come down
Mm-hmm.
because there's less of a demand for it. And again, everybody, auntie, sister, cousin can do lashes, right? But over the years, I feel like with permanent cosmetics, it's just kind of stay consistent. Like there's always going to be expensive artists and there's always going to be like artists that are a little lower. So it's a little bit more consistent. So permanent cosmetics is more so about just getting up to the price that you want to be at.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you get to that price, it's not going to be crazy to be at that price. And you just have to know that because you're going to know that somewhere somebody is charging more than you.
That's right.
Right. And that's what you just have to understand. I think one of the most expensive brow artists in the country charges like $3,200 for one set of eyebrow, no retouch included. Crazy.
They have a
So,
target
if
audience.
anything, for brows, like the price has gone up. It used to be a little bit more consistent, but now, like, because the work is better, it lasts longer, it looks better, people don't have a problem charging what they want to charge. And the more people that do bad work, the more people are very particular about who they let tattoo them.
That's right.
With lashes is different. The prices have come down over the years. When I first opened my salon 10 years ago, we was banging out 250 full sets back to back on classic lashes. Nobody blinked an eye about it, and it was great. Now that has changed. You know what I mean? Like, there are people doing classic lashes for like $100, less than that sometimes. So yeah, the pricing in the industry has changed a lot with lashes. But I say all that to say, I've always had a thought process in my mind because that's how I was trained with lashes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went up on my lash prices, I was a little bit like, oh, this is going to knock some people off my books. I know that for sure. And I had some people that were like, oh, no, sis, that's a lot. They all end up staying, for the most part. Most of them ended up staying. And if they did fall off, it took a long time for them to fall off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even since then, like, increased my lash prices a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, it's about what suits me and what I need
Yeah.
for my income. And I think in the beauty industry, people just forget that because you're not working a regular job, nobody's there to like offer you a raise. So they forget to give themselves raises. And so you have to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
think people should make it more of a consistent thing to constantly raise their prices year after year till it becomes a
I agree.
norm for
I agree.
clients. Yeah.
I agree. Do you model work ethic with your son, but also remain present while you're with him? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay.
So I'm trying to be very present with my son, but I also want my son to fully understand how hard I'm working. And even
Mm-hmm.
with his dad has a business as well. We don't ever want him to think that having a business is easy. And
Yeah.
we don't ever want him to feel like we want him to know that these are the laborers that give you what you have, right?
That's right.
My son actually doesn't mind it. We always crack up about how overly invested he is in his knowledge of the beauty industry.
Really? He be knowing what he.
He has no problem. Like if he sees my phone ringing and he sees like it's a shop call, he'd be like, "Mom, somebody's calling the shop phone. Like basically, go get that money."
Okay.
I try to be very present with him, but I think it's just a norm that he's just used to now. Like it
Okay.
doesn't bother him. I think for him it's flipped. Like he understands working and what working provides is more so if putting boundaries on personal that he's like, hold on now, you doing personal stuff, you need to make some time for me. I think he's okay with it, if that answers your
Yeah.
question.
And because you make time for him.
Yeah, and I make
Yeah.
time for
Because if it was only
him.
work, then he'll be like, now I don't like
Yeah.
work because, yeah. So I get it.
I would say also one of the things I adapted, which I am also a big advocate of for in the industry now, which I think everybody in the industry should do. When I changed my schedule, I made it so initially I was off every other weekend. So a
Okay.
lot of people get into the beauty industry and they be like, I got to be at the shop every Saturday, right? Barbers are like that too. They're like, I got to be at the shop every Saturday. So every Saturday you get done working and then you either are tapped out, you don't feel like having family time. Sometimes you don't feel like having time with your friends. You just are tapped out because you didn't spend your whole Saturday doing nothing. And then Sunday you just want to rest. So the one change I did make into my schedule, which I love now, is that I will have every other weekend off. Now
That's
I
good.
only do one weekend a month. And when I
Okay.
go in, when I go in on the weekend, I'm there Saturday and Sunday. So
Hmm.
I account for 2 weekend days, right? Instead of being there every single Saturday. One of my stylists ended up doing the same thing where she would have every other weekend off. She'd be like, oh my God, I love this. Because she felt
Yeah.
like she was getting her life back where she can have weekends off now. And like she could plan out if she wanted to do something without moving clients around all the time. Now I'll make everybody in my shop do it.
Yeah, for 14 years, I worked every Saturday. I've never taken out a Saturday. And then in the end, I started getting off at like 1 o'clock. So at least I can have the evening. But like,
Mhm.
I've never taken off a Saturday when I was a hairstylist. And Saturday was it. Like, I'm going to work
Listen,
8
waking
a.m.
up on
to.
Saturday morning and not having to be nowhere just hit a little different. And I had some of my stylists, and they were a little resistant about it initially because that was like something we started this year. That I'm like, listen, going into the New Year's, everybody's gonna have an off weekend
Mhm.
every other week. And at first, they was like, that's my money. But then when I started, I think now they're like, oh, it's my off weekend.
Right.
I'm not even
Right.
nobody there. And they open it up if they want to open it up. Like it's still an option there. But I'm just really big on mental health now and like having that balance because that otherwise you just like working
Yeah.
and not living.
I like how you be like transitioning to my next question because the next question is about self care. You're like mental health. What self-care practices have been essential to your well-being as a business owner? And how do you recognize when you're approaching burnout and what do you do?
Okay. So wait, go back to the first part of the question again.
Okay.
You said what was
The
my
first part of the
basically what's
question
my
is
self-care?
what self-care practices have been essential for your well-being as a business owner? I feel like the Saturdays thing that was like right on. But
Definitely.
what
So let's
else?
let's put it out there first. Self-care is not self-maintenance. What I mean by that, a lot of women think that self-care is getting your hair done, your nails
No.
done, going to get your waxes, whatever,
Yeah.
lashes. That is not. It
That's
is
not
a
the question either.
it is a task and it is a chore to maintain your beauty.
That's right.
Self-care is what
Yeah.
you pour back into yourself, right?
Yourself.
And how
That's right.
you disconnect from your everyday life, right? And that's being a mother. It could be being disconnecting from your relationship, disconnecting from your kids, disconnecting from work. What do
Mhm.
you do to disconnect from your responsibilities essentially?
Yes.
So, self-care for me, I would say this past year has been I became a plant mom. Yeah, but you know what's crazy? I became a plant mom and then the more I worked on myself, the less plant mom I feel like I am only because I started realizing like I didn't need my plants as much.
So you like taking care of things?
I thought I did, but now I'm like, I don't want as much responsibility. So I done been throwing plants away, but I have. Um,
Plants were your thing.
I still love my plans because it's something, it was an activity that take me away. But the more that I worked on my self-care, I got into therapy. I would say therapy is like a self-care. The more I worked on myself, the more I started like I'm getting into more of my health. So like working on my eating habits, I started going on walks more. I started going to Pilates. So that stuff
Mhm.
like that is self-care for me. Going to a comedy show. I love going to basketball games, traveling, of course. All that is self-care. Watching Law and Order is self-care.
Girl.
I got back into reading books, like regular books
Okay.
and
Hmm.
audiobooks.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's self-care for me.
That's all self-care.
Yeah.
Good.
Doing
Good.
stuff that just like, doing different things. I'm a foodie. I love to go out and eat, try new restaurants. That's self-care for me. Going on solo dates to go out to eat. It's
That's
definitely
right.
self-care for me.
So you answered the next questions. What did you do for burnout?
I like to go outside. I like to go outside and
You be outside.
I like to go outside and I like to eat. Eat outside, try new restaurants. Yeah, and I think people should do that by themselves sometimes. Like you don't always need
To
somebody to
get
go
to know
with you.
yourself. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
What advice would you give other entrepreneur mothers about making time for themselves while growing their business?
Try to let go of the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think entrepreneur, whether you're married or not, you just got to do it. You just got to carve out that time for yourself and set those boundaries. Like people think sometimes you can't set boundaries on your kids, but you can.
I
And I
can.
feel like talking to other mothers, sometimes they don't feel like that's where their burnout comes because they don't set those boundaries for themselves and they don't
Mhm.
treat themselves to that time alone or their time with their friends or whatever they need to disconnect. It's
Mhm.
okay. Like I got in the habit, and I talked to some of my friends about this. I got in the habit of telling my son sometimes, hey, I need my mommy time right now. Like, and that could just mean going in my room and closing the door
Mhm.
and watching Law and Order.
That's right.
Like, and just like it's okay to set those boundaries and it's okay to explain to your kids why you need that boundary. And it's okay. They're gonna be all right.
It
Like
will.
they're not gonna look at you like you the worst mother in the world. If anything, they'll understand it more. I started having conversations with my son, like, these are things that kind of like get me upset, and this is what I would prefer. I need us to work together, or I need this communication to be better. I need you to understand this, and this is why. I try to have really open conversations with my son about my self care time and my need for stuff. Like when I started going to yoga and Pilates and stuff, I was telling him about it, and I was like, it's not just for mommy to work out, but it is for me to relax. It is for me to stretch and feel good in my body. And sometimes like I make him do stretches and meditations with me. I think kids need to understand how hard it is to be a parent sometimes.
Yes.
And
I
I
saw
don't
something that
think we have
said
those conversations with them.
the number one factor of a kid's success is the well-being of the mother. you're more patient with them. You're happier when you take out that time for yourself. We're more snappier and have less patience for them when we're not taking out that time for ourselves. So I think it is necessary that you find time for yourself to do the things that you enjoy, even if it's pulling up, sitting in a car, taking a 15-minute break every single day, just finding that thing that works for you so that you can show up for your kid and be your best for your children and for yourself, but for your children.
Like my son, he'll ask me, he'd be like, "You need a minute?" Or like if he feel like I'm on the phone or I'm having a moment, he'd be like, "You need a minute?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
just give
he's
me a couple
maturing.
minutes." He's maturing, but I think having those open conversations with him and setting those boundaries about
Mhm,
what I also need as a parent, while also making sure I give him, asking him what he needs as my son. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Asking how much cuddle time does he need, like, or whatever. Like,
That's
so
right.
making sure it's a good, healthy balance between the
But
two.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
basically, just don't be afraid to have those boundaries with your children. They'll be okay.
Looking back, what would you do differently in balancing all of these roles effectively as a
What would
whole?
I do differently? I wish what I had did differently that I didn't know about. So everything when I got into my business was unplanned. Like it wasn't like
A
I had a
plan.
plan. It wasn't planned at all, and it worked out. I'm not
Yeah,
upset about it, but I wish I was more intentional about what I wanted, meaning that
like
I
that.
wish I would have took everything I kind of had to learn as I went along. And there are
Mhm.
times that I still tell my employees like, "Well, I'm figuring it out."
I
But
tell
I
my
would
daughter that
say,
as a mom.
yeah, yeah, like, you just got to be honest with people sometimes. But I think what I would have done differently and what I would do with my next business is actually put a foundation in place, meaning like have your handbooks, have your,
Oh yeah.
tax people lined up, have a
Oh
good
yeah.
accountant, put
That's
yourself
good.
on payroll.
Good.
Set up everything almost like you are setting yourself up to get a job, but obviously it's for yourself. Because if you do that in the beginning, as much of a headache as it could seem like to do, as your business grows, it's just one less thing you have to worry about. I think a lot, I was talking to actually, guy does photography. We were talking about how a lot of Black businesses, they are really good at something and they get into it and they have success, but then they never do the foundation work. And so they put
Mhm,
themselves in this predicament where years later they then have to backtrack. And then they don't want to backtrack because we'd be like, I'm like, I make this
I'm
money.
already
Like, I don't need to
established.
backtrack. But really, you do. Because you'll like jack yourself up in the long run. So I think having that foundation first is what is missing from a lot of people's business plans. Or not, I shouldn't say a lot of people's business. That's not fair to say. But I think that's what I would do differently.
What you
I
would do
would go
different.
back and set everything up and be intentional.
Mhm,
When I say be intentional, whatever your thing is. So if you're like, I really love green shoes, I want to have a business where I sell only green shoes. Be intentional about that because your market is there. There is somebody out there. There are people who like, I love green shoes. They're gonna love that you sell green shoes and green shoes only. And so
right.
I think where people don't set up that foundation is because they're not thinking about it, because in their head they're just like, this is what I like, and they're
Mhm,
not thinking it could be successful. So if you have that initial thought
mhm,
and you say, okay, you go into your business like, I'm gonna be successful. This is gonna work.
mhm.
I'm gonna find my people. I'm gonna find my community because I know this is gonna work.
Right.
If you go into your business being like, my business gonna gross $1 million, then you're gonna get there, right?
Yeah,
And you could set up that foundation knowing that your business is gonna be where it's at. You could set up your business like, one day you're gonna be at 6 figures, 7 figures. Then you look at it completely different.
that's right.
Yeah,
You have a plan in place.
but it had a legit plan in place.
What new projects are you working on to grow personally and in your business? And where can we find you online to watch your growth?
Personally, without dropping new information, like too much information. So what I'm working on is growing outside the salon,
Okay.
bringing in other avenues beside just services. So that's that part of Forward Beauty. I would
Mhm,
love to do another salon concept, but do it a little differently. And
mhm,
when I say that, I mean just what I was talking about with having that foundation in place and doing it now that I know everything that I know, doing it how it should be done. Watching that grow, being able to kind of franchise that new salon concept out. That's what I would love to do. Um,
That's what you're gonna do.
gonna do. Right. I would love to dabble in the education side a little bit. I would love to hit up state board and set up a legitimate lash education program and be able to sell that to different schools. And the only reason why that is important, because I feel like they threw lash extensions in with the aesthetics and cos license, but there's no education surrounding it. I've had students that told me that literally they'll at school and the teacher doesn't know how to do lashes, and they got them taping lashes to their head and like applying them all wrong because there is no education surrounding it. So I would love to put a legitimate lash plan in place for State Board and be able to sell it to State Board or cosmetology schools in general.
So like an educational piece to go into these schools and have a program to teach them how to do the hands-on part.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's doable.
And just the proper education
The
in
proper
general, right?
education.
Like
Yeah.
get rid of all the myths that we think surround lashes and have just a proper education for it in place. However that's going to look. A legitimate lash program that's a part of the aesthetics or cos program.
So we know you're going to do all of this.
Yeah.
So we want to stay connected. So where can we find you, Miss Wendy, to stay connected with you, to see your growth personally and professionally?
Yes.
Because I'll be there to witness, but
Yes.
the people want to witness it. So where can we find you to stay in touch?
Yes, so I'm on Instagram, obviously. I have a Facebook. I don't use it much though. On Instagram though, at Faux Real Beauty. So salon name is going to be anything pertaining to Faux Real Beauty, the salon, the team, and anything else coming. And then my personal brow page, which is where I would also love to grow some business stuff for the beauty industry, is Wendy_QUA.
Q what? I'm sorry.
Q.
Okay, QUA. Okay, Wendy_QUA.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Wendy, this has been awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying patient with me through the technical process, because
You
most
fine.
people would have gave it like, girl, let's just do this another day. But you was patient with me. Like, have you done this before? Yes, Wendy, but give me time.
You know what? Sometimes the best things are the unplanned things, and I needed a little bit of this too. Sometimes I need to go down memory lane to remind myself of all the great things and the journey I've been on. So I appreciate it as well.
No problem. But thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. I'm gonna invite you on again. I'll invite you on another episode later on, so that we can get some updates of what's going on with you. Okay.
I'm cool with it. Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
I love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye. So, all right, guys. So, thank you for joining this episode. Wendy, it was a pleasure. If you would like to see more episodes, please visit YouTube. Actually, on YouTube, it is my actual name, LaQuinta McClure. Visit YouTube to see more episodes like this. So I have a program where I'm doing one-on-one coaching where you can schedule to work with me one-on-one to build your business online. If you're a beauty professional and you would like to build your business online, creating digital products or any kind of program online, click the link in the description and go to Whole Beauty Wellness/service, and I will see you there. Stay tuned to the next episode, and I will see you next time. Bye now.